wake up. No pings, no plans, no one asking for your time, and for the first time, it's just you and the silence. It should feel peaceful, but instead, it feels unsettling. Because in that silence, you don't just hear nothing, you hear everything you've been avoiding. We're trained to move fast, to check our phones the moment we wake up, to answer texts, to scroll, to chase distractions like they're oxygen. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Most men aren't afraid of being alone. They're afraid of what solitude reveals. It's not the quiet that hurts, it's what echoes in it. That job you didn't chase. That version of yourself you promised to become. That truth you keep dodging when no one's watching. What happens when you stay in the silence? Sit in that quiet long enough and your insecurities start screaming. You're not enough. You'll always be forgotten. No one really sees you. But breathe through it. Don't run, because silence doesn't yet reveals. And once you stop running, the noise begins to fade, and something powerful replaces it. Clarity. That's when you shift from needing attention to commanding it. Most men today are caught in a silent, endless loop. They scroll through social media, compare their lives to highlight reels, and feel inadequate. They chase success, status, and attention not because they are shallow, but because they've been programmed to believe one dangerous lie: that being liked is the same as being worthy. This isn't a flaw in their character, it's a result of cultural conditioning. From childhood, boys are taught to earn gold stars, win trophies, impress teachers, and make others proud. So they grow into men who seek approval instead of purpose. They trade authenticity for applause. They silence their own voice to be accepted by the crowd. They sacrifice their strength on the altar of validation. But here's the twist, the part few understand. The man who stops chasing approval becomes a force that cannot be ignored. He no longer contorts himself to fit in. He builds himself from within. He speaks not to please, but to express truth. He acts not to impress, but to align with his values. He chooses power over popularity, clarity over conformity, and substance over style. And in doing so, he becomes undeniable. Not because others approve of him, but because he approves of himself. He no longer seeks permission to be great, he claims it. Approval is the most dangerous addiction no one talks about. It doesn't come in a bottle or a needle. It comes disguised as likes, compliments, and nods of acceptance. It feels harmless, even rewarding, but it's a slow erosion of your soul. There's no warning label, no intervention, no rehab, but the damage, it's real, and it's relentless. You start to laugh at jokes that offend your values. You nod in rooms where you disagree. You say yes with your lips while your gut screams no. You sculpt yourself into what others want, slowly sanding away your edges until you're a polished stranger. And worst of all, you begin to forget who you really are. But freedom doesn't come from being liked. It comes from detoxing from the need to be liked. It begins the moment you say, "I'd rather be real than be approved of." And yes, it's messy. You'll lose followers. You'll outgrow people who only liked your mask. The small talk will dry up. The superficial smiles will fade. But what takes their place? Something rare, something unshakable. Clarity. You remember what matters. 2. Peace. You stop performing and start living. Power. Power. You no longer ask for permission. You walk in purpose. This is the cost of authenticity. You must leave behind the safety of applause to build a life grounded in alignment. But once you do, you're no longer addicted to being seen, you're committed to being true. Part 3. The gift hidden in solitude, the forge of the self. Solitude gets a bad reputation in a world that glorifies constant connection. People fear being alone not because they're weak, but because they've never been taught to see solitude as sacred. It's not loneliness. It's not punishment. It's not exile. It's refinement. It's the space where the endless noise of the world finally fades. The algorithms go silent. The expectations lose their grip. And for the first time in a long time, you hear yourself clearly. This is where growth begins. Not in crowds, not in applause, but in the quiet, often uncomfortable stillness where you face your truth. In solitude. 2.5. Your standards rise because you're no longer diluting your values to fit into conversations that don't matter. 2. Your questions change from, what do they want from me, to, what do I want for myself? Key. You drop the mask because there's no one to impress. Key. You stop shrinking because there's no one to make comfortable but yourself. Solitude is where you stop performing and start becoming. Where you remember that your worth was never in your popularity, but in your presence. Where you begin to build the version of yourself that was buried beneath the noise, beneath the pressure, beneath the persona. And from that place, not from the crowd, not from the comments, you rise. Wiser, sharper, realer. You emerge not louder, but clearer. Not harder, but deeper. Because solitude didn't weaken you. It refined you. The man who chooses stillness becomes a force, the power of inner grounding. There's a different kind of strength, the kind you don't learn from the world, but from within. It's not about noise, status, or outward dominance. It's about stillness. The man who chooses stillness over chaos, intention over impulse, presence over performance becomes a force. He doesn't move to impress others. He doesn't chase trends, applause, or quick wins. He moves with direction slow, deliberate, unshaken. While the world scrambles in noise and urgency, his restraint becomes power. And in his silence, there is gravity. His quiet confidence speaks louder than empty boasting ever could. His energy enters the room before he does, not because he's trying to be seen, but because he is aligned, grounded, and intentional. This man doesn't need to prove himself, his life is the proof. Doesn't demand attention, his presence commands it. Doesn't chase influence, he embodies it. He's not loud because real power doesn't need to shout. He's not desperate because real men aren't driven by voids, but by values. He's centered, anchored in who he is, not who others want him to be. And that's what makes him unforgettable. People don't just notice him, they remember him. Not because he tried to be seen, but because he was undeniably real in a world full of performers. Stillness is not passivity. It's control. It's mastery. It's the ultimate flex, the refusal to be pulled by noise, fear, or ego. Because when a man no longer needs the world to validate him, he becomes the kind of man who shapes the world instead. If you felt that silence, if something in this hit home, don't ignore it. Ask yourself, what's one distraction you're ready to let go of today? Drop it in the comments below. Not because it's trendy, but because you're done running. Then hit like, not because this video was entertaining, but because it stirred something deeper. And if you're ready to stop chasing and start becoming, subscribe. This isn't about hype. It's about building clarity, discipline, and strength that doesn't need to be seen to be real. Welcome to the inner rebuild. We're not here to be liked. We're here to become unshakable.